and welcome to Community Forum. I know you haven't seen me for quite some time, and I'm sure you missed me. Uh, but this is the first program that I've done for 2021, and I'm pleased to be able to do that and bring you once again important news about important people and issues which are affecting us here in Stoughton. So Community Forum, and I want to thank my director, Roy Cohen. I want to thank all the staff at SMAC for what they do to bring the news to all of us who reside in Stoughton. My guest today is a person who has lived in Stoughton for quite some time, and I'll let her tell you the exact time. But in any event, having children in the Stoughton Public Schools, being a person who has been committed to involvement as a parent in the school side council, as well as interest in taking care of matters which pertains to education here in the town of Stoughton, has decided to step up and to run for the school committee. And I always like to have persons who want to run for anything because my motto is I'm not running for anything but cover. So I applaud any person who is going to run for any office, and certainly the school committee is an important one here in Stoughton. And I want to introduce you and have you hear from my guest today, Fabienne Francois-Morisset. So Fabienne, welcome to Community Forum.
Thank you, Joe, so much for inviting me here, as well as the SMAC staff, in order to have an opportunity to share my story and let the community know who I am and why I'm running for basically the committee member.
Well, that's what I want to start with. I always like to start my program. I like people to know the person before we know what the person wants to do. So why don't you tell them a little bit about you? About Fabienne, the person, Fabienne, the Stoughton resident.
Well, my name is Fabienne Francois-Morisset, and as you can tell, I'm a Haitian immigrant. I came here years and years and years ago and resided in Boston. I went to school in Boston as well, as raised by my grandmother here. And I attended college at UMass Amherst. I have a bachelor's in psychology and I have a finance MBA with Bentley University. And currently I live in Stoughton with my husband and my two boys, age 12 and 10. I've been living in Stoughton now for 10 years. And basically just wanted to, like Joe said, step up and be a part of the more involved in the community and assisting and making decisions to make sure that the community and the students get everything that they want out of the schools, essentially making sure they get the support, making sure we're advocating for them in any capacity, just making sure that, I step up and I help as much as possible. I want to make sure that I'm representing the community. I'm ensuring that parents have a voice and we're listening to their voices to make sure that what we're doing for the community is beneficial to the students.
You make my job so easy. I could just sit here and listen to you, all afternoon. But Roy wouldn't pay me if I didn't ask any questions. So I guess I better do my job here. So let me bring it to talk to us about what schools your sons attend. And I know that you've been involved on some of the school site councils as well. So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Currently, my 12-year-old attends O'Donnell Middle School. He's a 7th grader, and he also attended the Daw School when he was in elementary. And my 10-year-old, he attends the Daw Elementary School, and he was also at the Stoughton preschool prior to the Daw.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about a little bit about your involvement on the school council, on this or the parents council. Every city or town has a different way how they describe it in terms of the parent organization. But I also know that there was you also may have had some involvement and concerns or some issues or knowledge about the special needs aspects of what Stoughton provides or should provide. Can you talk about your involvement on the school council, and then let's talk about your concerns or interest in the areas of special needs?
Well, prior to my kids attending the Stoughton school, when I was living in Stoughton, I had them at another school. And once my second son, who's 10, once he was basically of school age, I realized that he had some challenges in learning. And looking at the Stoughton school community, basically, I really liked what they were doing. They had much more involvement with the students in helping them gain the development that they needed in order to match their classmates. So I pulled my other student out of the other school and enrolled both of them into the Stoughton Public Schools. And thus then I've been working with the teachers, the special ed teachers, and making sure that my voice is heard in regards to what I want for my kids in order to learn and the assistance that I feel that they need. So we're having meetings with the teachers, and I'm also, providing them with a lot of insight in terms of how I feel like his development is and ways that they could assist him in making sure that he gets what he needs out of it. So I'm looking at the progress goals that they have for him and making sure I'm challenging it in any way that I can, making sure that they're attending to the needs that he has. And thus far, there's been tremendous improvement from what I can see in reading and math from him. He's much more engaged. He enjoys school. He's participating more. Even in the Zoom calls, I'm tremendously impressed with the amount of engagement that he has with the teachers. They're really, really impressed with him. And I don't know. I feel like as parents, we have to be involved. I think it's a collaborative effort with the teachers to assist them with what the kid needs in order to improve their learning. When I was part of the student council, parent teacher council at the DAW back in 2019, I was challenging the principals as well. I was basically telling them things that I was seeing in terms of safety for the kids, ways to improve it. I challenged them in terms of diversity. I'm not going to be shy about it. I have 2 Black sons, and for them to see teachers that looked like them was important to me. I understand that, they have some challenges in hiring. I want to be part of the solution in that capacity. When the whole thing happened last year, I got more involved with making sure that we had teachers that were qualified in order to fill those gaps. So I'm part of a nonprofit organization in preparing Black teachers in colleges in order to be teachers when they graduate out of college, and they're also mentoring elementary and high school students as well. So I'm just trying to be part of the solution and not really part of the problem right now.
Well, it seems, very impressive in the sense of both what you have attended to, obviously for your own children, but also more broadly for the educational system and what the schools can provide here in Stoughton. I want to come back to the special needs piece, one, because I'm married to a teacher who taught special education in the Boston Public Schools for over 20 something years. So I'm very, again, I'm connected to that issue. Is there anything, as you said, things have gotten better, looking at it from the standpoint of a parent, but certainly looking at it from the standpoint of a school committee member, are there things that you think that you might recommend going forward that the school system might adopt that may better assist either the student and or the parents in motivating that child in that learning?
I think as a parent and stuff, a lot of other parents feel like the teachers are the all in all answer. And I think, like I said, it's a collaborative effort for me working with the teachers in order to assist them with elevating the kids for the educational status that they need. So with me, one of the things I would probably want to encourage the school committee to do, or the teachers and staff, is basically have more engagements with the parents as opposed to just the progress reports. Reach out a little bit more and try to get in tune individually with what that particular child needs, because I know everybody has different methods of learning, and my child is a visual learner. So one of the feedbacks I gave to the teachers was, to provide bigger post boards or whatnot in terms of the math curriculum, so that they can visually see what they needed to do or have it reflective in their learning. So for example, when I spoke to the SPED teachers, I had them provide me with, as you can see in my house, big poster boards of different structures in math and how to add and multiplication and stuff. So as I'm working with my kids and we're walking around the house, it's evident there. And because I basically incorporate education in all capacities in my life and my kids' life. So I don't want there to ever feel like school is just learning and it stops there. Learning is your whole life. It encompasses your whole, existence. So I basically try to incorporate it wherever I can. So I want the teachers, the parents, and everyone to do the same. So if there's a way that we could support them and communicate with them, different methods in which people learn, whether it's audio, whether it's visual, we have to incorporate that in order to a system. It's not just the books and the learning, the way they do it traditionally. We have to try to incorporate it in any way we can throughout their lives.
I am sure that um, the the pandemic and COVID and having remote learning, I suspect
Mhm.
that your children are doing remote learning, if not doing a combination. I'm not sure what Stoughton has.
Yeah.
How has that been? And has the system uh, implemented it well from your standpoint?
I mean, this is a whole new experience for all of us with regards to transitioning from in person to remote. And I think the school committee and the teachers administrating have done a good job nonetheless, because it's been challenging. And I think it's just kind of like they're trying to figure it out as they go. As a parent, I can say that there were some, disconnects that occurred earlier during the pandemic, but I think, eventually we've smoothed it out as most things happen. As you learn more, you get better and you do better. With regards to the remote learning, it was definitely challenging for me as a parent. I have a full-time 9 to 5, extremely demanding job. For the past 20 years, I've been an auditor for a bank. And so trying to incorporate that with also helping my children learn remotely, whether it's my middle schooler or my elementary learner who is a SPED student, it's been challenging. So that's why I said it's kind of like I basically took the ball and ran with it and treated it as though it's part of my job, which it is, making sure that my child gets the education that they need in spite of the pandemic. So reaching out, having these Zoom calls, trying to figure out with the teachers how the child can learn how to be a self-advocate and independent in their learning as well. And just being there as much as possible. I mean, right now, we're going into the phase where it's in person 100% as of April 5th. And I think that's going to be a tremendous help for all of the parents and the students out there, because definitely they were challenged with a lot of the parents that are second English learners as well, not really being tech savvy. I can understand that being a challenge as well. So that's going to help them tremendously with the students going back full time. I know it helped my kids a lot as well, because they were having challenges communicating with the teachers with lessons that they weren't understanding well. And I think if you don't have the ability to speak out, the teachers, have to communicate as well to reach out as much as possible. Communication is a two-way street. So I think we all just need to continuously work together as much as possible to try to get over the pandemic and bring the kids all back to the levels that they need to be.
Well, it's going to be interesting to know because there's a diversity of views on in-person versus remote, and I'm not going to explore those with you today. That's a debate that could take us on beyond the time that we have.
I think it
So
depends on the family and the parents and the challenge that they're facing. So I feel like, in my perspective, the kids were remote for a while. Then my kids went hybrid, and I thought that was beneficial. But I understand, like I said, some people have other challenges in terms of schedules, daycare, technology. So the in-person really, really supports them.
yeah, well, that's why I said I want to touch it, but I was going to not go into it because, like I said, that's at least a debatable viewpoint. But one of the things I wanted to know is, I know in certain school systems, some of the technology, such as laptops and things, were provided by systems. Was any of that done in Stoughton, to your knowledge? Was that provided, and so therefore folks didn't have the technological savvy or did not have laptops, things of that nature? Was any of that provided to your knowledge, at least at the door and at the other?
Um, from my experiences, we got Chromebooks. We all got the laptops. However, when I speak of technology, not being technology savvy, it goes beyond just having the equipment. It also goes into understanding how to do the Zoom calls and how to schedule, the on the calendars, and how to maneuver through the classrooms, things that my 10-year-old was not aware of. Even me, I was not aware of. So we all had to learn that. So it just goes beyond just having the equipment. It's also how to utilize it and making it sure that it's effective for their learning.
Well, you touched, well, thank you for that. I'm sure nonetheless, it was challenging around for most people.
Mhm,
And I can imagine I am doing more over the past year. I
mhm.
become a Zoom aficionado because I'm Zooming. I just got off of Zoom and I'm back on this one here. So at least it has its pluses and it has its minuses. Its pluses is I don't have to leave my home.
Yes,
Uh, but the minuses are that I'm not leaving my home
yes.
and have to. So there's a number of so that no matter how you look at it, it does have pluses and minuses.
Correct.
But you touched upon an issue which those of who are listening to this program, watching this program, and have known me over the years, as far as what I have trumpeted here in Stoughton, is the question of the lack of diversity throughout the town
Mhm,
and throughout the school system. And
mhm,
you touched upon that, talking about looking for uh, students and administrators that look like you and me.
mhm.
Um, as a, what might you, and I know I testified before the past school committees raising this particular issue. As a school committee member, what might you see, how might we be able to address that particular issue? Because it's been a longstanding conversation, but as far as implementation, there hasn't been much been done over the years that I've lived here in Stoke.
Um, as I had said, it's almost like we all have to take some sort of accountability to resolve the situation. And I hope in trying to become a school committee member, I'm doing my part. And what I'm encouraging others to do is also try to step up and do their part. Because being part of the Haitian community, being part of the Black community and stuff, I understand that they have a lot of contributions that they want to make to the schools as well as the community. And I want them to use their voices and turn it into action and also participate in any manner that they can in the administration, in the town, in any fashion. Because without us voicing, using our voice and taking action with those voices and stuff, nothing's really going to change. And I'm sitting here having this, interview with you, and I hope that I'm showing people that this is exactly the types of things that you need to do, whether you don't have to run a campaign and be part of the school committee, but you can, support others, be part of the solution, engage more. And so essentially, I'm trying to teach the kids that, I'm trying to teach community that, the community that I represent. It's just very, very important that we work together and try to help one another understand the diversity that exist and how we can leverage that in order to make the differences that we want to see in the community and the schools. So I'm hoping that, with me running this campaign and being part of the school committee, I'll be able to do that.
I'm sure that many of the viewing audience, thank you for that response, by the way, and for your commitment. I'm sure the viewing audience sits here to say, well, I heard you say earlier you have your 9 to 5 job. You've been an auditor for a bank for 20 years. Just want to show you I'm paying attention. Um,
Very important.
you have your family, your husband, your 2 children. During this pandemic, you've split your time between your work, your family, and trying to deal with the educational needs of your students. You served on the school site council. What do you say about the person who says, "Oh, I just don't have any time to get involved. I'm too tired, etc." What would you say to a person who came to you and made that comment? I can't participate in the community because I can't serve on any of the boards. I can't be a town meeting member. I can't come and work with at SMAC and to do some of the programming. What would you say to that person who tells you that with the type of schedule you have, Fabienne?
I think for me, one of it is basically how important is it to you to see those changes that you talk about and to be reflective of that. So I understand the whole time commitment. As you said, I have a whole lot of things on my plate. However, it's important to me. So I try my best to make the time for these things that are dear to me and the type of example that I want to be for my children, as well as other kids that, are seeing me in that light. Um, and sometimes it takes just a small effort because the other opportunities that I have I may attend a meeting that may not have diverse people in it. And by just the mere fact that I'm devoting, let's say, an hour of my time per month, and a situation comes up where I can voice my opinion and provide them with that diversity that they need, is beneficial. I think that, we just have to get involved and put it as one of the priorities that we need in terms of, like I said, the change that we want to see in the community. I'm all about action oriented and results oriented. So I don't want my talk to be just talk. I really want to walk the walk as well. So for me, I'm not going to talk to you about something that I'm not trying to basically be an instrumental part of making changes. So I want everyone to essentially find the little bit of time that they have, whether it's right now with the pandemic, it provides us an opportunity to stay home and have the meetings through Zoom. So it eliminated traffic, the weather. You could be in your pajamas and attend these meetings and provide your input or support someone else that is trying to, make those changes that you want to see. I just really encourage the community and as members to step up and be reflective of what you speak of. Walk the walk so that you just don't have to be all talk.
Well, I think the Zooming is, pajamas are in order, not as bad as the guy on television, who has his, that's on there. But, my sense is that it does allow some flexibility. And yes, you are correct. You can use the time, the valuable time that you might use traveling, you can add that
Correct.
time in terms of the activities that you engage in. So I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. But with the few more minutes that we have here, I want you to talk about, now move to Fabienne, the candidate. Part of this is you decided to run for school committee. Let's talk about the campaign. Let's talk about the things you're doing, the things that you are looking for, and what you feel you will bring to the school committee, were you to be successful.
I think for me, I'm trying to communicate with a lot of the Stoughton community. One of the things that, when I was doing the campaign at the early stages, I was one of those moms who was more of wanting my kids to have the hybrid component of learning as opposed to just in person. But after talking to the community and seeing a lot of the concerns that they had, they kind of, moved me over towards the in person as well. So I feel like being part of the school committee, I want to ensure that, we're actively listening to our community in terms of the things that they want, all the diverse community in terms of everybody that represents it, to make sure that we're being respectful and incorporating their ideas. I want to make sure that we're just trying to make sure that we're using the budget as effectively, as efficiently as we can. Having a finance background and being an auditor for the past 20 years, I've worked in banking, I've worked in utilities, I've worked in technology. So I have a lot of that experience to bring to the table in terms of the controls, what the risks are, and making sure that we are extremely effective and efficient in our delivery and things, the goals that we set for ourselves, and making sure that we're on task. I just want to make sure that people are able to use, not just have a voice, but use their voice, and to make Stoughton the exemplary community that, we're striving to be, essentially. I want to be part of making sure that we close the achievement gaps and make sure that any student that has high needs in terms of learning, we're paying attention to this and just different types of learning abilities that, or systems that they need. So I just want to make sure that we as a community, or me specifically as part of the Stoughton, I'm listening to, the community, I'm representing them well, and I'm taking their messages back to the school board in regards to the decisions that we're making that'll benefit the schools, support the students as well as the teachers in terms of their educational goals, their social, mental health goals, all this capacity, because I know we have to incorporate, it's a lot, but we do have to incorporate that into a child so that they can become productive citizens of this, country.
Well, again, as I said, I applaud anyone who is going to run for elective office. So if elected, you join the political realm, the politician realm. Obviously, you are on a school committee in a particular town, but the educational issues extend beyond that. And I'm
Mhm.
sure the persons that you may have to interact with will be broader than that.
Yeah.
What is your mindset in terms of looking to bring additional types of educational resources to Stoughton. For instance, we received the Chapter 70 monies from the state,
Mhm.
and how those are dispersed. We have relationships with other communities and other types of educational programs. Certainly, as you look at special needs, there are those types of issues that come into play as to the IEPs for a child and whether
Mm.
they are in a different type of a setting or in other schools. How are you going to be able to negotiate and to motivate those types of issues, uh, serving in the capacity as a school committee member?
Currently, right now, a lot of the my close knit connections work for the school committees or the Boston Public Schools already. I have people that work with students that are high needs right now, that are teachers, that are administrators, that are principals. And even for my son, when I felt like I was challenged with regards to the material that the teachers were talking about, and I wanted to ensure that I understood, I brought my sister along, who works for one of the BPS schools, to be part of the meeting in order to try to translate or assist me in getting across what they were saying as well as what I needed. So for me, I'm already working with a lot of the other school officials pertaining to students in general from other communities. So I don't feel like it's going to be a challenge in itself, trying to have them collaborate with us and getting anything that we want done. I think I've already spoken to some people about, potentially coming down to Stoughton, and if there's opportunities, being a teacher here as well, to be a representative of the diversity that we're looking for. So it's a question of how do we make this happen, more conversations, but I think that people are eager. They understand the needs and they're willing to help if it makes sense. So we just have to, continue the communication and dialogue.
Well, our time is coming to an end here, Fabienne, and I've definitely enjoyed our conversation. I wish you well as you go forward to run for the office of a school committee person. I think you have the talent, you have the knowledge, you have the commitment, you have the sensitivity, and I believe personally that you would be an addition and a welcome addition to the school committee. So I wish you well on your campaign. Hey, I'll be looking for that date in April to be able to say school committee woman, Fabienne Francois-Morisset.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my experiences with you guys. I really appreciate it. And I really hope that, the Stoughton community actually goes out and votes on April 6th. Essentially, I'm looking for your vote. I'm trying to make some changes. So please consider me. Thank you.
All right, take care.
You too.